Hi everyone, I'm Lynsey Henry and I'm back for another live event with Stigma-Free Society. So once again, please take a look at the video description for our disclaimer, and we just have that there for your safety. So we're doing these live events for our new Stigma-Free Toolkit, so you can find the website at stigmafreetoolkit.com. And we're doing them for you, so feel free at any time to comment with any of your thoughts in the comments box or questions, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. So once again, I'm Lynsey Henry, and I'm a registered clinical counselor. I'm also a school counselor in Surrey schools. So I see students aged kindergarten to grade 7 and help them out there. So today I wanted to talk about anger and how to cope. So this is a big topic right now, I feel like, because with COVID-19 going on, I feel like a lot of my students have been coming to me and expressing their anger with everything that's going on right now and just feeling like they have no control. It's really tough. And just even the boys I work with sometimes, I'm starting to notice that they're mentioning that they're feeling a bit more angry, and sometimes anger and anxiety together can kind of show together, and just externalizing kind of behaviors versus more internal sort of behaviors. So the first thing I kind of wanted to explain to you was an anger scale. And I use this with my students to kind of show the differences between like a 5 out of 5 on the anger scale versus 0, which is being quite calm. So we'll start at the bottom of the scale, the anger scale, and I like to think about it as a bit of a thermometer. So as we go up the thermometer, the temperature gets hotter. So just like that, our body temperature even gets hotter with anger. So for example, if we start at 0 and we're feeling calm and relaxed, then we might go up to step 1, which is feeling annoyed. And when we're annoyed, our face might be warm, our tone of voice might start to change to be a bit more aggressive. And once we get up again to a level 2, we might be feeling upset. And on our face, you can see that we're upset and angry. Well, sometimes our eyebrows kind of crunch up and our body starts to get quite tense. Next on the step, I would say 3 would be frustrated. When we're feeling frustrated, our face and body are even more hot and start to feel even more tense. So you might start to feel that even in your shoulders or your neck. And that's a 3 out of 5 on the anger scale, feeling frustrated. A 4 out of 5 to me, you might call it just, I'm angry and my heart's beating quite fast and my jaw might even tense up a little bit and my fists might even start to tense when I'm feeling that angry. A 5 out of 5 is when we're furious and out of control. So that's kind of when we're in that fight mode and our entire body starts to feel hot. We might want to yell, scream, cry, or use our body to express our anger. So that's a 5 out of 5 on the anger scale. And I think it's really important to talk to our children and as teachers and as parents and students, talk to our students about how our body feels when we're angry and this different vocabulary, because there's so many different ways to say angry. Because you could be angry, you could be annoyed, you could be upset, you could be frustrated, or furious and out of control. So it's good to kind of frame it in that sort of scale, and I find that's really helpful for my students to understand as well. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about control and what we can and can't control right now during COVID-19. I saw a really cool graphic on Instagram from another counselor, and it had it kind of in a bubble, a self-control, a control kind of bubble, really. So the things that we can't control right now, we got to try and let those things go, right? And imagine them like almost like a balloon floating off, and try and get rid of those negative, angry thoughts. So for example, right now, unfortunately, we can't control if others are following the social distancing rules. We can't control actions of others. We can't predict what's going to happen or when COVID-19 is going to be over. We can't predict others' motives. We can't even predict when we go to the store. Sometimes there's toilet paper, or sometimes there's hand sanitizer, sometimes there's not. Unfortunately, that's something we cannot control and need to let go of. We can't control how long this will last or how others will react. So those are some of the things that we can't control. But let's focus on the things that we can control because there's lots of those too. And the things that we can control is ourselves and our positive attitude. So we want to be positive and thinking of the great things we have in our life right now. There's so many of them. How we follow the health recommendations, that's up to you as a person. So you can do your best in doing that. We have control over that. You can control your own social distancing. You can control turning off the news and limiting your social media. You can control your own kindness to others and how you treat others just by your smile, your body language, words and messages we send to our friends. And we can control finding lots of fun things to do at home. And speaking of fun things and activities, on the Stigma-Free toolkit, there's this really cool activity generator. And on there, you can click, and there's a whole bunch of really cool activities that you can try at home. And sometimes it's new to get something new and fresh and random to try at home to really engage you and help you feel more positive. So that's another great thing about the Stigma-Free toolkit. So now I want to take you through some different coping strategies. So how do we cope with all this anger? My top one that I really like for annoyance and anger and stress and kind of releasing that is called progressive muscle relaxation. So with progressive muscle relaxation, you can find a whole bunch of scripts that you can follow along. Someone can read it to you. And also there's ones on YouTube that they're already reading it already. And you just get to sit there and relax and follow along. There's even some different apps like Calm, Insight Timer, and they have progressive muscle relaxations on there as well. So I thought, why not try one with you today? So if you are comfortable to join in with me, you can sit down in your chair, or if you're on a couch, wherever you're comfortable really. And we're going to focus tensing each of these muscle groups to provide some relaxation and some release. So I'm also going to move my chair back here and kind of follow along with you. So let's start off by taking a few deep breaths. And we want to do a count in of 4. And pause and out. So we're going to start by focusing on our toes. So if you're sitting in a chair, I want you to try and curl up your toes nice and tight. And we're going to focus on holding that in for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And release. Release those muscles in your toes. Next, we're going to start to focus on our calf muscles. So if you're sitting in a chair, I want you to kind of point your toes and clench your calf muscles as much as you can for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. And relax your calf muscles. Next, we're going to focus on the upper legs and thighs. So if you're sitting in a chair like me, I want you to squeeze your upper legs and thigh muscles together, and we're going to tense them for a count of 4 while we breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and release. And that feels great. And while we're doing this, I really want you to imagine your thoughts, and I want you to imagine them floating away in an air bubble. Okay, so next we're going to move on to the stomach and the chest. So we're going to focus on sucking in the muscles in our stomach for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and release. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Next, we're going to move on to the muscles in our back. So to tense the muscles in our back and our shoulders, we can kind of push our shoulder blades together like this. And we're going to breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and release. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to move on to our arms. So I'm going to get you to hold out your arms and your fingers in a fist. And we're going to clench our shoulders and our arms and hold them out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and release. 1, 2, 3, Now this last one I'm going to do with you, it's a little bit silly, so we're going to contort the muscles in our face and our jaw. So we're going to tighten them up. Ready? 2, 3, 4, and release. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do one more guided breath all together. In. 2, 3, 4, and out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you had your eyes closed, I want you to start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And that's a short progressive muscle relaxation that you can do when you're feeling maybe after something that really upset you. You're really angry and now you want to relax your body. It might even help you before you go to sleep at night if you've had a tough day that you were experiencing some anger. So that's a really great one, progressive muscle relaxation. Now, another coping skill for anger is just recognizing our triggers. And you can do that by kind of reflecting within yourself, maybe journaling. You could even Google search, what are some common triggers for anger? And kind of go through those in your list. Sometimes it might be something like someone raising their voice at you. That really frustrates me. And I prefer a more calm tone of voice. So that might get me going up on my anger scale to be more annoyed. So that's one of my triggers, when someone raises their voice. Another trigger might be some different language. So if somebody says the word stupid, calls you stupid, or says, I don't care, in the middle of a fight, then that can also be a huge trigger for our anger and lead us to get further and further up that anger scale that I talked about at the beginning. So just recognize those triggers. Take some time for yourself to reflect on those. Taking a break when we're angry is huge. I urge my older students in grade 7 to talk with their teacher and advocate for themselves about taking a break outside the classroom and getting some fresh air. Just close to the classroom door, opening it up, getting some fresh air, and that fresh air will help cool down your body. And just moving spaces can sometimes help reduce that anger and that stress. And a calm space could be anywhere, right? So in a classroom, that break calm space, sometimes classrooms have calm down corners. I used to have one as a teacher with a bunch of pillows and kind of a private spot where students can relax, and that's great. Sometimes they have beanbag chairs, sometimes they have a little calm down tent. Just somewhere with more dim lighting too, I feel like is really helpful when we're feeling angry or upset, is to kind of dim the lighting a bit and have a nice calm space in the classroom or at home for our children. So deep breathing, we already kind of went over that with the progressive muscle relaxation, and Fantasia also teaches great deep breathing exercises through her yoga, and she'll be doing that tomorrow as well. But I like to use the 4 count in, hold, and then do the 4 count out for breathing and getting ourselves to a more calm state. Another one I like to use in my office and encourage teachers to have is a calm down toolkit or some fidget tools in the classroom, or even at home. You can make really cool calm down toolkits for your children. So you might include a stress ball, a putty, a glitter bottle. You can even make glitter bottles at home yourself. And just watch the glitter slowly float to the bottom of the water bottle, and it can be really calming. A stretchy band, or I use something called a Hoverman sphere, and that sphere, you can use it as kind of a model of what it looks like in our belly when we're belly breathing, and you kind of hold it in and it expands out. So it's a nice visual for younger children to see how our belly breathes, and really encouraging them to slow down their breathing. For youth, they might not want other people to see that they have fidget tools. So you might recommend an elastic band on their wrist, a bracelet, a hair tie, or even a fidget ring. And that can keep things really discreet and also be really good for calming down our anger. Expressing it. So this is a huge one with anger, any big feelings, is to talk through your big feelings in an assertive way. Some ways for anger that I recommend for my students is ripping up paper, crumpling it up, doing some anger art, doing some writing in a journal, just talking to someone you know and trust about your anger. Exercise is another great one to have a good emotional release after we're feeling quite angry and stressed. We can exercise and it increases our serotonin and makes our body feel good. In particular for anger, I think running, going for a run outside, doing some boxing or lifting weights can really help those tense muscles. And you in an angry episode or just after, just getting that exercise in. The next tip is visualize. Visualize your peaceful place. For me, it's a beach and the waves crashing. And just try and think about all your five senses. So what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you smell, and what you taste. And what that experience would be like in your peaceful place. For example, the beach, you'd feel the sand, you'd feel the sun, and you'd smell like salty water, and you could touch the cold water. So just visualizing all those senses as a peaceful place. The next skill is a DBT skill, and it's called TIP. And this skill is really good for any big feelings in general and for situations of distress that might also include anxiety. So the first part of TIP is temperature. So drop the temperature with cold water. So you might go to the washroom and splash your face with cold water. You might use a cold ice pack on your eyes or your cheeks for 30 seconds. So that's the first part of TIP is temperature, a cooler temperature. I stands for intense exercise. So if your body's amped up with anger, maybe you could run outside for a break, do some jumping jacks, do some burpees. Everybody loves burpees. And the next part is paced breathing. So that's that belly breathing that we just talked about. 4 in and 4 out. The last part of TIP, the second P, stands for progressive muscle relaxation. And we just did that as well. So you can follow a script or find a YouTube video or an app that works really well for you. And you might even include a positive message for yourself in your head, like relax or everything's going to be okay. And just keep focusing on that positive message. So I have time for some questions now, and then I want to do another paper, pencil kind of activity like I always do in my lives. So I do see one here already, a question. It says, how do you approach someone who gets angry often to let them know it's hurtful or detrimental? So the big thing, when somebody's really angry, or in the school, sometimes we call it red zone for angry feelings, you want to give them space, right? And get them to reflect on it later when they are calm. So you're going to want to approach that person when they're calm, not in that angry state, first of all. And just express your feelings to them in an assertive way. So I feel worried when you are so angry and aggressive around me. I need you to go take a break. And that will help me with my feelings. So that's kind of how I would approach someone that's quite angry. And I see a second question here. What's the best way an educator can approach a student about their anger? So for teachers, I say just give them some space at first, especially if they're really escalated, and try and distract them with something that they really like. So if it's Pokemon cards, they really love Pokemon, you might get them to start describing their favorite Pokemon character and what that Pokemon character looks like, or what his special talents are. So it's distracting them from their feelings, or even just suggesting or giving them a calm down tool and leaving it next to them, or also just redirecting them to the calm down space in your classroom as an educator. So Johnny, why don't you go to the calm down corner and I'll give you a bit of space and we can talk about that later. So we do want to articulate our feelings, assertive feelings, when the student or the youth or the child is calm and they're best able to understand what we're saying and what we're trying to help them with when they are calm, and also when we're calm, because if a student's quite angry, that can be stressful for the educator, parent, as well. So just taking that moment for a break. Yes, and something we use in Surrey School District is the low arousal training. So lots of staff have been trained in that. And a big thing with low arousal training is to be calm, appear calm to the student, and distract and redirect them. Distract and redirect, and offer those calm down tools. What is the best way to calm someone else down without offending them? So I think I kind of talked about that. is to kind of distract them with something else, or offer them, or just ask them, how can I help? Using a calm tone of voice and distracting them with things that they like, or offering different tools. Or even sometimes I'll be sitting next to a student that's feeling quite agitated, and I'll even slow my own breathing down while I'm sitting next to them, so that they also, it encourages them to slow their breathing down when they can hear me slowly breathing. And it just kind of parallel does that on its own. Sometimes I'll also just have random tools, games, card games, and get a student to engage in something like that. Like, hey, let's go. Why don't we go play a game? And I'm the second party coming in. So if the student's in the classroom and angry, if the teacher calls me, I might go down and say, oh, hey, Johnny, I got cards. Let's go. And just take them to my room where the lighting's very dim, and offer them some choices and some space to calm down in a quiet area. What if the child refuses to be redirected or assisted once angry? So these types of students that maybe have been going through anger for a long time and are very defiant, usually there is a safety plan set up for them, and that's tailored to the student's individual needs and what works best for them to be distracted and redirected. So generally in a classroom setting, the teacher will call me for help, the child care worker, or the principal or vice principal. It's usually best to just have one person that wasn't in the immediate situation of anger to help that student. Just because it's a new person, new fresh person coming in that can appear calm and do all those steps. So if they were still having trouble, then it's about the lower arousal training. So I won't go into the specifics of that because that's for specially trained people that have attended the workshop. But like I mentioned, the basics of it are to appear calm, distract, and redirect. So thank you for that question. How do you find what emotions are underneath the surface of anger? Yes, I have a big poster in my counseling office, actually, and there's a whole bunch of different things that can be underlying from anger. So it could be anxiety. It could be even feeling embarrassed. It could be just frustration with schoolwork. It could be something going on at home that triggered it. It could be just some similar language that the kids heard before that they don't like just calm down, or just get over it, and that language is triggering them. So you really need to, as an educator, reach out to your district behavior specialist, and somebody will come in and actually track these kind of triggers, and so you can best develop a plan for that student and that youth in managing their anger. So, and as a counselor, I have that poster in my room, so I just kind of discuss that with my student, like it could be these different things that are making you feel angry as well. So thank you for that question. I also just wanted to briefly show you a couple tools I have in my office, because why not? That's kind of fun. So one thing I do to help teach kids coping skills is I have this therapeutic treasure deck of coping skills. And they're these really cool visual cards to show youth so they can remember the skill. So this one talks about ripping, tearing, or squeezing, or scrunching up paper, tissue, or a wet towel when we're feeling angry. This one talks about breathing exercise where you trace your finger, which is actually pretty cool. When you go up, and then you go down, up, down. So there's so many different ways to teach those breathing exercises. Counting forwards or backwards from a given number, even thinking of different themes for the student to recall in their head to distract them. And this is kind of like a calm down toolbox, like I was talking about. But yeah, I have a ton of these cards, and I'll show these visuals to a student and get them to lay out their favorites, their favorite coping strategies. And then that way I can send a picture to their parent of the coping strategies that work best for them. Another tip I think I would have for parents is just being open and willing to discuss anger at home. So I have this game called the Talking, Feeling, Doing game, the anger card game. And it just kind of encourages some conversation around anger. So I'll give you an example. Doing card, it says, give this I message to someone. I feel angry when you blank, and I don't want you to do it anymore. So it gets the student to kind of recall what and practice how to do an I message and what makes them feel angry. Another card, it's a feeling card. Does your schoolwork ever make you angry? Why? What do you do? So just even just having these conversations around the dinner table, like what can we do when we're feeling angry? Or how did you feel today? How was your day? Did anything frustrate you today? And just being able to have those open conversations. Another one here. Have you ever caught yourself getting angry but then kept your temper? How did you do it? So getting them to recall the coping strategies that they know. So those are some fun games I have in my office as a school counselor. All right, so we only got about 5 minutes left here, and I really wanted to do that pencil paper activity with you. So I hope you have one, and if not, maybe you can watch back later. And it's basically just coming up with a cool coping plan. And I've done this in many different ways with my students. I've done it as a cope cake, like a cupcake, and getting the student to make a plan that way, kind of creative and fun. For students that like video games, I've kind of laid this out as a video game controller. So say it's a PS4 controller, and each button is something different that helps you cope. And maybe even the buttons are associated what they actually use in the game. And that's how, like moving around, taking a break on the controller. But today we're going to use a mug as an example. So we're going to quickly just sketch out a mug on our paper, just to the side of the paper is great. And I call this the coping cocoa mug, like a hot chocolate. All right, so I got my mug here, and on my mug I'm going to write an affirmation or something that's really meaningful to me that helps me when I'm feeling angry or anxious or just any kind of distress, really. So on my mug I'm going to write, I've got this, because that's a good, meaningful message that I like. And I also have a mug that already says this on it, and I quite enjoy it. All right, so here's my mug. And I've left some room for the rest of my coping plan. So for your coping plan, I want you to write these different titles. People who help me is the first one. So to the side of your paper, you can write people who help me. So when you're in distress, you're really upset, who's the person that you call? One or two people that you call. For me, it's one of my closest friends. So a close friend, it might be your teacher, it might be your parent, could be your school counselor even. Let's write school counselor for mine, because I like to think I can be pretty helpful when kids are angry. And the next title we're going to write is activities. So what kind of activities do you do when you are feeling anxious or stressed that help you calm down? For me, I really like to listen to music. So I'm going to write that for one of my coping activities, listening to music. Other activities might be drawing, writing, going outside. So on my lunch break at work, I often go outside and just take a break outside, and that really helps me self-regulate. So I'm going to write going outside. The next part of our coping plan is places we feel calm, because we need to know where we can go when we need to calm down, somewhere quiet. So places I feel calm, or places that feel safe. So at school, this might be the calm down corner, might be the counselor's office, might be outside, might be on the playground. At home, a lot of my students say my bedroom. That's where I feel the most calm. Or it can even be the place you visualize. The beach is the place I visualize to feel calm. All right. Last two parts is a few I am affirmations. So what are those words that matter to you? So I am strong. That's one I really like to say to myself that helps me when I'm feeling angry. So I'm going to write I'm strong, and I'm going to write I am confident, because we all can work towards having more confidence. The last part of our coping plan is positive thoughts. So what kind of positive thoughts can you say to yourself in your head that are going to help you calm down? For me, it's challenges make me stronger. So I like to think in my head, challenges make me grow stronger. All right. So there's a quick kind of fun way that you can do with your own kids, or as an educator, or as a school counselor with your students. Just coming up with a fun coping plan with a mug. And I see I have a couple more questions here. I'll try my best to answer them. What if the child refuses? Oh, I already read that one. How do you find what emotions are underneath the surface of feeling anger? Oh, I already read that one too. I apologize. Oh, thank you, Andrea, for sharing your mug. I am whole and loved is my mug mantra. Love it. So find those mantras and those words that matter to you. And I think that's about all the time I have today. So thank you so much for everyone for listening. And I hope you found it helpful to make this coping plan. I'll also post some different ideas on my counselor Instagram and kind of show you some of the activities and book suggestions I have around anger. So thanks again for listening. Take care.